The billionaire's fiancé tore the maid's uniform. Then the scar broke everyone. The champagne glass shattered against the marble before anyone understood why. Amara stood in the center of the Whitfield mansion's grand foyer, fingers still curled from where she had ripped the collar of the young maid's uniform clean off her shoulder. 20 guests in designer suits froze mid-sentence. What had been exposed on that collarbone was not a tattoo, not a birthmark, a scar, jagged, deliberate, shaped like a crescent moon split in half. Daniel Whitfield's glass slipped from his hand and joined the wreckage on the floor. He knew that scar. He had given it to someone once, in a version of his life he thought he had buried forever. If you're watching this, tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from, because what happened next changes the way you look at every perfect couple you've ever envied. 3 months earlier, nobody in Manhattan's elite circles had a bad word to say about Amara Voss. Polished, magnetic, the kind of woman who walked into a boardroom and made grown executives forget their own names. She had met Daniel Whitfield, heir to a shipping empire worth more than some small countries, at a charity gala. 6 weeks later, he proposed with a ring that cost more than most people's homes. The tabloids called it a fairy tale. Amara called it a plan. She had grown up watching her mother clean other people's houses. She had sworn she would never again be the one on her knees. Marrying Daniel wasn't love. It was armor. She hadn't expected him to hire a new housemaid 3 weeks before the wedding. She hadn't expected that maid to move through rooms like she was trying not to be remembered. Quiet, watchful, sleeves always pulled to her wrists. Something about the girl unsettled Amara from the first day. The way Daniel's jaw tightened when she entered. The way his eyes lingered a second too long before he caught himself. Her name was Naomi. She said little. She never made eye contact with Daniel at the dinner table. But sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, she studied the family portraits on the walls with an intensity that didn't belong to a temporary hire. Amara noticed. Amara always noticed. "You're imagining things," her friend Celeste told her over drinks. "She's the help. Daniel doesn't even see people like her." Amara had learned long ago that the people you're told not to worry about are exactly the ones you should watch. The first real crack came on a Tuesday night. Amara couldn't sleep. She went downstairs for water and found Daniel in the dark, staring at an old photograph he thought he'd hidden. When he saw her, he shoved it away too quickly. His hands were trembling. What was that? Nothing. The past. But Amara had built her life on reading what people didn't say. The fear behind his eyes told her the past was very much alive, and possibly living under their roof. She began watching Naomi more carefully. The girl flinched when Daniel raised his voice, even in jest. One rainy afternoon, he steadied her when she nearly dropped a tray. Naomi pulled away like she'd been burned and whispered something Amara couldn't hear. Jealousy is a dangerous architect. It builds entire mansions of suspicion out of a single glance. Amara's mind was already constructing a story she couldn't stop believing, that Daniel and this maid shared something buried, something that threatened everything she had fought to secure. She confronted him. He denied it the way rich men are trained to. Smooth, practiced, final. Denial only sharpened her suspicion into something colder. The night of the engagement dinner, half the city's wealthiest families gathered beneath the Whitfield chandeliers. Amara watched Naomi cross the room carrying a tray of champagne. Something in her snapped. Maybe it was the way Daniel's eyes followed the girl for half a second too long. Maybe it was months of swallowed suspicion finally boiling over. She didn't plan what happened next. She simply moved. "Who are you to him?" Amara hissed, grabbing the collar in front of everyone. "Tell me the truth." Naomi tried to pull back. Panic flooded her face. Amara's grip tightened. The fabric tore. The scar appeared, pale, unmistakable. Daniel went white. "Oh my God," he whispered. "Sophia? Not Naomi. Sophia." Gasps rippled through the room. An elderly woman near the dessert table rose from her chair, hand pressed to her mouth, tears already falling. "My daughter," she breathed. "You're alive. They told me you died in that accident 12 years ago." If your heart just skipped a beat, you're not alone. The truth came in pieces, each one crueler than the last. 12 years earlier, Daniel's father had orchestrated a car accident meant to eliminate Sophia, the daughter of a business rival, and the only witness who could expose a fraud that would have destroyed the Whitfield empire. Daniel, 22, and desperate to protect his father's name, had helped stage her death. He never knew she survived. He never knew she had spent over a decade in hiding, working under false names in houses just like this one, waiting for the courage and the proof to come back. She had taken the housemaid position deliberately, not for revenge at first, for evidence, for the documents that could clear her name and expose the men who tried to erase her. Daniel fell to his knees in front of her, not caring who watched. "I didn't know," he said, voice breaking. "I swear to you, Sophia, if I had known you lived, I would have spent every day trying to make it right." Amara stood frozen amid the wreckage of her engagement, realizing with sickening clarity that the life she had been so desperate to claim had been built on someone else's grave. Sophia didn't forgive easily. She stood in that foyer, uniform torn, scar exposed to a room full of people who had once benefited from her disappearance, and she spoke with a steadiness that silenced the entire party. "I spent 12 years cleaning floors so I could stay alive," she said. "I scrubbed dishes in 3 different states under 3 different names. I watched my mother mourn a daughter who was never dead because coming home too soon would have gotten us both killed. I am done hiding." From beneath her torn collar, she produced a small drive she had kept against her skin every single day, evidence of the fraud, the falsified accident report, and her own attempted murder, all traced back to Whitfield Sr. Daniel didn't try to stop her. For the first time in his adult life, he chose truth over his family's name. But truth has a cost. Amara left that night with nothing but her pride and a future that had collapsed in a single tier of fabric. The wedding never happened. Within the year, the empire crumbled under investigation. Daniel was stripped of the name he had once hidden behind. He tried to help Sophia rebuild what had been stolen. He offered money, protection, whatever remained of his influence. She accepted some of it, not all. Some debts can't be paid in full. Sophia's mother held her until dawn. The scar remained visible long after the torn uniform was gone. And Daniel, the man who had once helped erase a life to protect an empire, spent the rest of his years knowing that no amount of atonement could give those 12 years back. Some scars aren't meant to be hidden under a uniform collar.